There you go. There's about plus or minus a half inch of play in it, and we discovered it's in the sidecar drive bearings, not the wheel bearings. So, okay, we got the sidecar wheel off and opened up the hub here, which the shaft was moving around in. Wasn't horrible, wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. Inside we do have a few things to replace. We'll show a video with some of that in it, or it'll be in this video, I guess. And that's where it bolts on. Drive shaft runs over to here. What we found out was the U-joint on the sidecar wheel side was in pretty bad shape. It was practically seized up in one direction and turning in the yoke instead of the U-joint itself turning. It was so bad. And we already pulled one cap off here somewhere, having a heck of a time getting this thing apart. And it just came off inside. It came off in pieces. It's full of rust. There it is. The bearings are shot. It's all seized up. This basically is doesn't have any bearings in it anymore, and it doesn't look like it was ever greased. So we're trying to get that free now. The shaft itself at first pass doesn't look so bad, but when you really start to notice the details here, there's a lot of wear on these splines, and this, you can feel grooves in it as you run your finger across. So we're replacing that, and this bearing is shot. Besides being a little gritty, it moves around, so we're going to get that bearing replaced. See if I can show you what we're dealing with on this U-joint here. We have beat on this thing, and we got one cap off. It's finally just starting to move. I can take all my weight. Okay, out of the way. Our hope is if we can get this moving, we can get this cap off. That was easier. I think it's breaking up now. We've been heating it. There we go. Won't take any grease for sure. So I guess the lesson here is grease these. This is why the bearing went bad, and we have shaft damage. With this being so hard to turn, it's applying pressure to this bearing as it goes. This bearing wobbles. It's applying pressure constantly up and down, or side to side, however it happens to hit it on this bearing, because this joint's not turning. And all of that could have been avoided with a couple of squirts of grease every now and then. Alright, I'm going to have to put the camera down while we see if we can get this cap out now. Okay, we finally got that cap off. Found basically the same thing. It's filled with rust, seized up. Now we had flushed this with PB Blaster and heated it, so it looks a little wet in there, but there's no grease in there. Finally got that booger out. Well, we got the new shaft tail on, ready to reinstall. Now, there's something you just don't see every day. This sidecar has absolutely welded itself. It is not moving. It's too far in. The axle, the drive shaft was actually binding. So all we wanted to do was move it out about an inch and readjust everything where it should be. It was out of alignment all the way in, so I don't know who set this up originally, but I don't know if it's been that way since the start, but it is welded in. We have managed to get 1/8 of an inch. It was dead against the frame. Okay, we went for broke and we got this sucker loose, but this is a little 1-ton scissor jack that fit in there, and look what it did to it. Yep, it collapsed it. But I just used a big old wrench and kept torquing that thing down until this thing came loose. We had heated it, PB blastered it, beat on it with a hammer. You name it, we spread it with a crowbar. It just wasn't going, so we finally just wedged this jack in here and sacrificed it to break this thing free. I'm glad it did, because I'm fresh out of jacks and ideas. But we got it. The fun just doesn't end.
Yep, getting shafted, it's real fun.
Despite moving the sidecar out, freeing that up to put this in, because we thought since it was so hard to take apart, this would make it easier to reinstall, we're perplexed. Why on earth can't we get this axle to go back in? We have created, after all, an inch more room, which, by the way, it won't budge again. The jack shot, so I can't pry on this anymore. We were going to clamp it down there and do our alignment in the front, which is free. But we just noticed the new shaft has this shoulder. The old shaft does not have the shoulder. There's our problem. That's why it's closer. So, yeah. More work.
Idea. Let's just take the rear wheel off, install the drive shaft, and then put it all back that way.
We could also pull that tail out and cut about a ½ inch off the end of it so that it would collapse further.
I don't know. Your way sounds too easy.
Yeah, that's pretty hard still, though. I don't know if the portaband will go through it.
Somebody's done it.
I'm sure.
It's right there on the top of the Soviet Seeds Forum.
Oh, well, I'm sure it was Van, if it was anyone.
No, it wasn't actually. It was somebody else.
Okay.
He had the same problem. The shaft was too long and he didn't want to adjust the sidecar. He liked where the sidecar was, so he decided to cut the...
That's why it's too long. Alright, well, we're going to figure out something. Alright, another tree fell in wedge. And we separated the car a little bit more and we got it in there now. So, another thing we're going to do is anchor this car down and do our alignment from there. Because I want to leave it so I can get the shaft on and off.
I don't know, I think it's a good idea. Close it back up so the shaft can't come off. Then you don't have to put the bolts in.
We still have to replace the rear tire, at which time we're going to take the final drive off and grease these splines and do the service that needs to be done over there.
Just take the whole car off and put this back in and spread it back out and...
I'll pass. Well, we got the sidecar drive replaced. It's much better, tighter. The wheel is on solid now. We still got a good bit of work to do on this ride, but that part of it is done. Got a good U-joint in. It's I think ready to go so far as the drive shaft there goes.